Inside Foos presents FoosTalk Live.
We're going to play a wonderful game called Who is My Daddy and What Does He Do?
Your father had a plan in mind all the time.
Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy as father and son.
Dad, no. For once in your life, would you please just listen to me?
Dad, I'm allowed to do things. I'm not 83 anymore.
Can't wait to see my dad. We're gonna go ice skating and eat sugar pops.
Give Daddy some sugar.
I am your father. My dad taught me. That was about the only thing he taught me.
Oh, here we go. My father told me to bang my head against the rock, and I did it.
Your daddy, that old bald eagle, will be so proud of you.
Like his father.
You're the most wonderful father in the whole world.
I am your father.
Break 10, 15
Dad,
minutes.
it's time for you to go now.
Take me home, Daddy. Oh, don't you
It's FoosTalk Live.
You talking to me?
Compelling and lively banter.
Are you going to talk to us?
Talking foosball.
Foosball was how I measured my value as a man. You took that away.
Players and fans, promoters and pros. Unedited and raw.
Talk.
Living in the moment.
We have a lot of important things to talk about.
All while practicing social distancing.
Cool. We'll talk. No big whoop.
Let's get this thing started. FoosTalk Live. Coming to you live from the studios Inside Foos, it's the 62nd episode of FoosTalk Live. Happy Father's Day. Brought to you by InsideFoos.com, offering monthly subscriptions with access to some of the most exciting matches ever recorded, plus live tournaments, pre- and post-show analysis, interviews, and original programming. Sign up now at InsideFoos.com. Also brought to you by ProtectoFlex, the world's premier safety accessory. Go to Protecto-Flex.com. Brought to you by 518 Prints, one of the best printers of promotional items, t-shirts, hoodies, and foosball apparel. Visit 518prints.com. Brought to you by Foosballers, the movie, the Joe Hesslinger documentary, now available as a worldwide download at foosballersthemovie.com. Also brought to you by United States Table Soccer Organization, the USTSO, helping to usher in a new era of competitive foosball. Become a member at usafoosball.com. And brought to you by Foosball Clubs USA, promoting foosball through school systems all over the United States. Visit foosballclubsusa.com and make a donation today. Happy Father's Day. Hey there, I'm Tom Robinson. Welcome once again, FoosTalk Live. We are ready to chat about foosball on this special evening for dads and sons and daughters. When it comes to foosball, for sure. Got some famous people we'll talk about when it comes to the combination. But before we do all that, of course, conversation about foosball is always easier and much better when you're speaking to one of the great, not one of, but the greatest foosball play-by-play announcer of all time. It's Jim Stevens. Hello, Jim.
Well, just to be considered in that final group is good enough for me. Thank you. Hi, Tom. How are you? Hi, everybody. Great to be back on FoosTalk live tonight. So
yeah,
looking forward to it. Of course, last week we were in Florida, came to you briefly for about 15 minutes with a report, and we'll do that next weekend as well. We're going to be in Denver for the Nationals next week.
Right. Looking forward to that. It should be another fantastic turnout. Everybody wants to get out and play. Last weekend was no exception. It seemed like the 80 players they had there really crammed in a lot more fun than usual. Don't you think?
You think? If anybody has seen the videos from that, and if you haven't, head over to InsideFoos.com and subscribe, because the videos from that are something a little bit different than we've seen before. I talked about it a little bit on the air last week, but that was before. I think I talked to you before the Open Doubles final, which was really something. It was Tony and Bud Spredeman, father, son, maybe a little foreshadowing there, going up against Tommy Adkisson and Blake Robertson. And let's just say it was a little bit different than usual, a little bit more of a festive atmosphere during the course of the match.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this much. Number one, I had a smile on my face throughout the entire match. Number two, it was the Beach Town Beatdown. And what was proven to me last week was that anything goes at the Beach Town Beatdown, and that certainly turned out to be the case.
Suffice it to say that there were no losers at the Beach Town Beatdown. That's for sure. Everybody won.
That's for sure. Yeah. What a great venue. Lilo's right down there on Lake Avenue in Lake Worth Beach, Florida. Tremendous food. Literally the best bar food I've ever had in my life. Certainly the best food I've ever had at a venue that hosted an event.
Cool.
Good drink as well. Great atmosphere. Everybody had a blast. Truly, it was all about fun. And Tommy Brewer, Luke Watson and company made sure that was the case for all of us, including me. And it's been a busy month, and so I was ready for a little bit of fun.
No, I totally get you there. And I think that when it comes to the idea of this kind of event, it's always nice to kind of break up the majors with something so much fun, instead of being so intense and so driven for the entire weekend. At least there you have a chance to kind of take a break once in a while and watch the water, hit the beach and just hang out. I understand that you did a little recreating yourself in between matches last weekend.
Well, a little bit. Yeah. I mean, I had a chance Sunday morning. Everyone went down to the beach, or everyone who could get out of bed went down to the beach on Sunday morning for a breakfast that was hosted by Tommy and Dana and Luke Watson and company. And that was outstanding. Got a chance to dive in the water. There was not a single wave. This is the Atlantic Ocean.
Wow.
But apparently the Bahamas apparently block any waves that come ashore there because it was completely flat. And of course, coming from the beaches of Southern California, I'm not used to that. But I had a chance to dive in, collect a few seashells for the kids. I had a really fun time on Sunday morning. And then of course, the tournament ended Sunday night. Monday, I didn't fly out till about 4 p.m.
Oh.
And Tommy and Luke said, "Hey, Jim, we got you a bike. Why don't you go for a bike ride?" And I said, well, that sounds like great fun. Tooling around on a bike down at the beach. What could be better than that? Well, they didn't tell me that the weather report said it was going to be 100% chance of rain and expecting a couple of inches. I got about a half mile from the venue on the bike and the skies just opened up.
No kidding.
I hit underneath a couple of coconut palms and a couple of bamboo plants, but that didn't help much. And I got soaked. My wallet got soaked. My iPhone got pretty soaked. Somehow it still continued to work.
No,
I know I went to the airport later that day, Tom, and I squeaked throughout the entire airport as I was going to find my gate. So, it was a lot of fun.
What did TSA have to say about that? Right?
Yeah, they said, is that a liquid bomb? Is that some sort of a liquid? Yeah,
sir.
No, they were fine with it, and apparently, and so no, it was. I had cold swamp foot for the entire 5 hours of my two flights coming back home.
That's fantastic. Well, I'm glad you had a good time. I mean, you're going to be back on the road again really soon. In fact, next weekend.
Yeah, it's again a busy month, 3 tournaments in 5 weeks, and especially after not really working much for 14 months, it's challenging, no doubt about it. And in the past, before I had kids, Tom, I'd go to these tournaments, and sometimes they'd be 6, 7, 8 days long, the Tornado Worlds, etc. And I'd get home and I'd crawl into bed for about 2 days. But with small children, you can't do that. Right? The recovery time, you got to find your times of recovery because these things can be a lot of work. But yeah, I'll be traveling Wednesday. I'll head up to Denver, which is about a 6-7 hour drive from here in Durango.
Okay.
And we'll head over there for the national championships hosted by Mary Moore and IFP and those folks there at the Marriott Hotel in south side of Denver. Yeah, okay. Very nice place. And if you don't have reservations there, you might not be able to get them, but you still should try to come out. And if you can't, check us out at InsideFoos.com. We'll be going live on Friday from the national championship. So looking forward to that.
And we're hoping here on FoosTalk Live next week, may be able to catch up with you, maybe a report, something like that from what's going on there at the big event.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no question about it. That's something we want to try to do at every event that we attend on Sunday night, or in some cases on Friday and Saturday, like we did in Texas. Making sure we at the very least check in with you to give you an update. That
would be awesome. I would greatly appreciate that, and wish I could be there with you. But we may have to wait all the way till Labor Day before I can get back out again. But hey, that's neither here nor there. But so looking forward to next weekend. And now that we've talked about all this competition, it's worked up a mighty thirst.
Oh, it sure has.
What Jim and I like to do right about this time is to reveal our favorite IPA. Now, I know, Jim, that this week you were kind of out there doing some camping. Did you find any IPAs along the way?
Oh, no, I actually, I took a couple with me, and I saved a couple for tonight. We were up camping, about 80 miles east of here, up in some beautiful country called Williams Creek, north of Pagosa Springs. But tonight, I'm going down to Albuquerque for in La Cumbre Brewery. It's called the Elevated IPA, La Cumbre. It's actually quite good. I've had it before, but I'm going to have a sip right now as well. Oh, yeah.
Sounds mighty
just
good.
As I remember it. It's delicious. Elevated. And of course, we're up here at elevation. Why wouldn't we be elevated?
Right. La Cumbre. I haven't seen that back east, but I'll look for it, no doubt. And so I've actually...
How about you, Tom?
I've got something more Midwestern this time. It's called Two-Hearted Ale. And this one comes from Bell's Brewing of Comstock, Michigan. So right around the Great Lakes. So let's this is the first bottle of IPA I've had in quite some time. So let's okay, there we go. A little bit of fizz there. Let's check it out. You know, the bottle tastes different from the can. I can't deny it. It's a bit more pure. You get more of the actual beer taste there. I really like this.
So you're a bottle over can man. Interesting.
I do have to say it. It's weird because I haven't had a bottle of IPA since, I don't know, episode 50, something like that. Who knows? But it has been a while. So so unfortunately, Mark has not been able to join us yet, although he may jump in later on this evening. But when it comes to our honor group of the week, we may as well toast them because they're a good bunch. So hold on one second. Okay, there we go. So our honor group of the week is the guys from Tennessee Foosball. That would be Eddie Mubarak and the guys. They've got a great page on Facebook, and they do a lot of stuff there. Looks like a local pool hall they like to play in. But if you're ever in the Tennessee area, look up Eddie Mubarak and the Tennessee Foosball Club, our honor group of the week.
Yeah, I think that's Eastern Tennessee over towards Knoxville, but it's a city I really enjoy. I really love the Smoky Mountains in that area. And Eddie and his crew do a great job down there in promoting the sport. And of course, they're just down the road from Lexington as well. So they always send a nice contingent up there.
Yes.
To compete at the Tornado Championships each year as well.
Right. So I know that I met a lot of folks from the South and Midwest when I was at the Texas State Championships. And a lot of these guys, terrific people now that I feel like they're like best friends. And if I run into them again, I'll like, hey, what's going on? Which
That's
is
awesome.
Such a great feeling. So, I think that because we are talking about Father's Day, it is Father's Day, correct? By the way, happy Father's Day, Jim.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I had a really nice day. We were up for 2 nights camping, came back this afternoon and had a nice dinner. My family did get me some gifts.
Okay. And
one of which was a brand new wallet because my previous wallet was destroyed in a rainstorm in Florida.
Oops.
And so they got me a brand new waterproof wallet for Father's Day. How about that?
Like, Dad, take a hint. What was anything good in the wallet, by the way, or is it just the wallet itself?
Well, my wife believes in its tradition, I guess, and my wife is Jewish, and so I'm assuming it's a Jewish tradition. You never give a wallet or a purse without having some sort of money in it. So she did put a penny inside the wallet.
Oh, yes. It better be at least a new penny, at least.
No, I think it was a $5 bill. Actually, I'm teasing, but so there was some money in it. Yes.
I love that. That's great.
And a gift certificate for me to go and get a new hat and maybe some new clothes this week. So.
Right? Yeah, you're. If you keep doing this on every tournament you go to, you're gonna be showing up with half an outfit half the time. But
yeah, thankfully there'll be no snow in Denver, or else I'd be out in a snowstorm, no doubt about it.
Wow.
And I don't get it. A lot of people. One of the things when you go to these tournaments in Denver, and it seems like at least 5 people every time, either at the Colorado State Championships or in this case it'll be the Nationals, get a little altitude sickness. It's just going to happen. You come from elevation, you go up to a mile high, and you got to drink more water. You've got to kind of adjust oftentimes. Now that's not a problem for me. I'm actually going down to go to Denver, about 1,800 feet.
Jeez.
So it's no problem for me. And so I will not be ruining a wallet or anything else next week in Denver.
By the way, if you're a flatlander like me and you're traveling to Denver, I've actually been to Denver a couple of times. And the first time I was there, I was lecturing, and I was on the 13th floor of a downtown building, and I got altitude sickness in the middle of a lecture. Yeah. And I thought I was having a stroke because I couldn't put a sentence together, something that when it comes to lecturing, I'd done hundreds of times, and I would just completely lost my place. So that's something. Now, what would a foosball player have to do before they arrive, let's say in Denver, if they're like me?
I'd say go ahead and hydrate even before you leave, before you go. And with hydrate, that means electrolytes, Gatorade, whatever. Be prepared for it because it may knock you sideways. It may not affect you at all.
Okay.
But I've seen it. It seems like every tournament there are a few people that are affected by it and have to go back to the room and oftentimes have to forfeit out of events because they literally cannot play. So not trying to scare anybody.
Yeah.
Just be cautious, be careful, and make sure you hydrate. That's the big key.
And I guess acclimation, does it take a day or two to acclimate typically?
It can, yeah, a couple of days potentially, but again, with the more water, the more liquid you have in you, the more likely you're going to acclimate more quickly.
Right, understood. Totally get it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is Father's Day 2021. We're having a special edition tonight. Of course, our special guests, Tom Yore Sr. and Tom Yore Jr. will be joining us very soon. Probably the most famous foosball, father-son combination.
Well, there might
currently
be a few others, and we'll delve into that in a little bit.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. We'll get into that more heavily in just a bit. But first, in the tradition of Father's Day, here is the flashback. With great moments in foosball history, this is a FoosTalk Live flashback.
Yeah, opportunity. Let it happen. And Bud can shoot. Yeah, no doubt. I almost think he would have scored it if he had stepped up there, but who knows? Either way, Tony is going to put it back into play for the win. Tony Spredeman. Jokes at home, and there it is. So, in an entertaining 4-game match, Tony and Bud Spredeman are the 2021 Beach Town Beatdown Open Doubles champions.
Listen in next time for another great moment in foosball history. It's FoosTalk Live flashback. And there you have it. Last weekend's big tournament with Bud and Tony Spredeman, father-son, doing their thing in the open doubles at the Beach Town Beatdown. And Jim, it sounded like quite the rowdy crowd. Wow.
Did you hear that? Yeah, a little bit of late 1960s acid rock playing in the background,
yes, exactly.
And the crowd raucously roaring on that last point. And the match itself was pretty raucous. And again, I might try to put up a little bit of that on YouTube. I'm going to review it first to make sure we can. And there may be some warnings about some things, but maybe mature audiences only for this one.
Right.
Yeah, and so we will see. We will see what whether or not. But if you haven't seen the match, it's kind of a must see. I promise you, you've never seen anything like it. And a couple other things that happened. I think I talked about them last week. Was that we also had a match where Tommy Adkisson called 5 timeouts in a game, and we also had a match where this was 2 out of 3 in doubles in the open events. Well, we had one that was a 4 out of 7 played between Tommy Adkisson and Tony Spredeman. Tony won 4 games to 1, by the way.
I love it.
So a lot of stuff going on, but anyway.
Was it true that 5 timeouts they had to pay, purchase extra timeouts?
Yeah, Tommy bought 3 of them from his opponent, Blake Robertson, who I didn't know he had 3 of them to sell in that game. He usually only have 2. But money was exchanged and timeouts were bought and used, and both players agreed with it. So there was no official at the table, no Tom Yore there to make any calls. Although Tom Yore was there, but he didn't make any calls.
Right. No, I was going to say we'll have to ask him about that kind of activity. Side payments, whether or not that there's a section in the rule book about that specifically. I'd love to hear about that from Tom tonight for sure. Well, yeah. So I got to say that this is certainly one of those evenings. Of course, we'll celebrate the father-son combinations and the father-daughter combinations. I have a feeling when it comes to the top 5. As now, we'll certainly have to see if Mark can join us this evening, and then join in with the top 5. So, and I guess in fact, what we'll do is we'll have for Mark tonight, we'll have Tom Yore stand in. He is our special guest this evening. Let's join Tom Yore in our general room. Let's take a look here. Tom, are you with us? Tom Yore, are you with us?
You hear me?
Hello, Tom. How are you?
I am doing well. How are you doing?
So we're here with you to we're asking if you would like to stand for Mark with the top 5 tonight.
Top 5? Sure, I'll jump in on that.
Okay, it's going to be the.
Do you have any idea what that top 5 is, Mark? I mean, Tom, that would be good to know. Literally, this is a curveball thrown to Tom and I just in the last 15 seconds. So we're catching up here, but.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. No. Hey, Jim. Good to hear your voice again. And yeah, Mark gave us a little briefing and asked us to jump in here. So yeah, we're slightly prepared.
Okay. Very good. So now it's certainly something that it's subjective, and of course, it's okay if you pick yourself. That's cool too.
Never do such a thing.
I had a feeling. So guys, are you prepared? Do you want to do this top 5?
Oh, I guess so, yes.
All right, let's see what happens. Time once again for the FoosTalk Live Top 5.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Here's Jim Stevens and Mark Torres. And the part of Mark Torres is being played by Tom Yore Sr. this evening.
Sweet.
Well done, sir. Well done. That's our top 5. Father, sibling, I suppose, father, son, or daughter pairs, not necessarily partners, but just the top 5 fathers and sons, fathers and daughters, whatever, in the history of foosball. And of course, it's going to be subjective. Mark usually has an interesting take on these things, and usually comes out of left field with something. Knowing you, Tom, I'm not anticipating anything out of left field. Pretty much everything, I think, right down the middle. But looking forward to this. I think let's do it.
All right. FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number.
Yeah, number 5 for me, I went overseas and I chose the Athas. I chose Robert and Boris Atha. Now, of course, we all know what a great player Robert Atha is. When you're talking about the best multi-table players in the world, he's going to be on that short list, probably just behind Fred and Billy and maybe 1 or 2 other names, but maybe not. But a hugely successful player all over the world with world championships on 3 or 4 different tables. Does not have one on Tornado yet, although he's been close. He's been in the finals. But, of course, one year, and was that the year, Tom, was that the year that you and Brandon Moreland won? Did you not play Boris and Rob in the final?
In the finals,
Yeah.
yes, we did. Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the only time, and I don't have all the numbers, but I think it's the only time in history that a father-son team has reached an open final anywhere in the world, at least as far as my records indicate. And so for that reason alone, and of course, Boris, a man who's been so instrumental, not only in Great Britain, but also internationally as well, working with the ITSF throughout the years and promoting the sport, of course, in his home country, but also a very good player. And of course, was a player even before Rob was born. And then, of course, we all remember when Rob first came over here as a very young man, and we said, boy, this kid really has some talent. And he went on, of course, to prove it on all the various tables around the world. So for me, I went number 5. I went with Boris and Robert Atha.
Very good choice, Jim. I kept it home on this one for my number 5. I'm going with Brandon Moreland and Scott Moreland. I know Brandon's obviously one of the top players, world champion. I know I don't know as much about Scott Moreland's history, but I understand that he's won a couple mixed titles or something. He's been a very good player, a top-rated player over the course of his career. So yeah, I've got Brandon and Scott Moreland as our number 5.
Yeah, I had them as honorable mention. I think Scott Moreland and his wife Kathy were national champions back in the 70s on the Dynamo table. And then, of course, Brandon has had such success with a couple of world championships, one with you, and then one, of course, with your son. How about that? Now, it's talking about father-son nights. Brandon has 2 world championships, one with Tom and one with Tommy. So a good choice there.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 4.
Yeah, for this one, I went with a team that I think has the highest finish ever at a Tornado World Championship event or at a major championship here in this country. And by the way, Tom, I'm leading off tonight, I think, for the first time ever. And maybe it's just because I probably should have let you go first. In fact, from 3 on, I'm going to let you go first. How's that?
Sorry, I'm going to throw this to you, and you're going to get a first place out of this. So no problem. You're going to beat Mark again.
Yes, thank you. And what is that? 27 in a row at least. I think there was a tie in there somewhere. But for me, it's Carlos Cespedes Martinez and his son Kevin Romero, who finished 3rd at the Tornado World Championships in 2018, 2019, one of those 2 years. But I believe that's the highest finish ever for a father-son team in a major championship. One of the other teams tonight, one of the other father-son teams I will talk about has had some nice finishes, but I don't think they've ever finished that high at a major championship at Tornado, Worlds, or Nationals, or anything like that. So for me, it's Carlos and Kevin at number 4.
Yeah. Well, I didn't think I was going to do this, but and this list is a collaboration of Tommy and I putting our heads together to come up with this list. So there's going to be some honorable mentions, and our list may be a little different than yours. I don't know, but on number 4, we're going with us, with Tom and Tommy Yore. And, we're both master players. We're both world champions. We've got, obviously, for me, I've got a long history behind me. Tommy's up and coming, or already here, I should say. But I think we're kind of, without getting too far ahead of ourselves, I think we're kind of right there in the mix at number 4.
Yeah, I had you guys at honorable mention on my list as well. No, seriously, I will maybe talk about you guys here in a little bit.
Jim,
you go ahead and go first on this next one.
Jim, you had to scramble on that one. I could tell right there. Yeah.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 3.
You wanted me to take this one, Jim?
Yeah, you go first, Tom. Yeah.
All right. So at number 3, I've got a father-son duo that have actually played together and won together, many times. And most recently at the Beach Town Beatdown, I've got Tony Spredeman and Bud Spredeman as my number 3. Dynamic team. Bud is, he's a superb player. Tony is Tony. I mean, he's the best. He's won more than anybody else. And not only are they both great players, apart, but as a team, they're deadly. So I've got Tony and Bud at number 3.
Yeah, I went with Tony and Bud at number 3 myself. Obviously, Tony is Tony, like you say, and Bud, outstanding player, better than people think he is. Right? I mean, this is a guy who has a very good offensive game, good defensive player, has been around since the 70s competing. And when they play together, there's this very special bond that they have. I know last week when I spoke to Tony after that crazy open doubles final, he said, Jim, one of the coolest things is when I win with my dad. I mean, I don't know how much longer he's going to get to play. And so anytime we get a chance to play together and if we happen to win, it's very special to me, and for Tony, if he's playing with his dad, last week, there was no way he was going to let them win. He was coming out despite all the mitigating circumstances of that open doubles final, which if you haven't seen it, go over to InsideFoos.com. It was really something. But it was really special to see the kind of bond that Tony and Bud had. We've had Tony on the show before, and he's talked about his beginnings up in the Milwaukee area and how he would go to the bar at the age of 14 to play with his dad or to play in tournaments, obviously not drinking, but he was at these bars. And this was the kind of environment. This was the environment we had last week at the Beatdown in a bar with his dad and winning the championship. So for me, number 3 as well, the Spredemans.
FoosTalk Live Top 5. Number 2.
Yeah, Jim, and to follow up on that, I mean, Bud was the man of the hour in that finals match, dishing passes up to Tony, scoring bank shots. I mean, he was really stepping it up. And I know he surprised a bunch of people, not me. So yeah, good call for on both of our parts.
I agree.
Number 2, don't know if they've ever played together as a team, but both world champions, both among the best in the game. And I'm talking about the first family of foosball. I've got Terry Brew and Sully as number 2. Great people, great talented players, dedicated to the game. Class act all the way around. I mean, I can't say more. I mean, I can, but 2 of the best at what they're doing. I've got them at number 2.
Yeah, now I'm thinking, who did I leave off my list? Who does Tom have as his number 1? Because I also have the Roos at number 2. Obviously, as you said, Terry, a world champion, one of the, multiple gold medalists for Team USA, one of the most decorated players on the American tour, one of the greatest guys on the American tour, such a giving individual. And Sully, who may be, in fact, I'm planning on her being the next great lady player in the world. As her mother said, in an interview I did on Mother's Day with her, that Sully's not going to stop until she is the best all-around player in the world. And, based on her skill set, based on her motivation, on her hunger, on her competitiveness, I think she's going to do it. I think this is a future all-time great player in Sullivan Rue. And, of course, we're not even talking about the other daughter or the mother in this case. It's just the dad and daughter. And of course, we know what special relationships dads and daughters can have. And I know they have it. I know I have it with my daughter. and there really isn't anything quite like it. It's different than a father-son, which I also have. But it's very special. And in this case, it's super special. These are two great people. These are two great world championship players, two gold medalists. The list goes on. But for me, I also have the Roos at number 2. And man, who did I forget if you have someone else at number 1?
FoosTalk Live proudly presents the top 5. Number 1.
Can you hear me?
Oh yeah,
that's you, Tom. Yep.
All right. No, it sounded like everything just died right there. So for our number 1, we went across the pond, and not necessarily on Tornado only, or ever on Tornado necessarily, but it's a father-son duo that are a fantastic team together. They seem to win quite often on their table. The table's Bonzini, and we're talking about Miguel and Hervé dos Santos as our number 1.
Wow, that's out of left field. That's great.
No,
this
that
is
is who I
Mark's
forgot.
position. You wanted left field. You got Mark's left field. Here you go.
That's interesting. Yeah, I forgot about them, and you are absolutely correct. This is a team of both of them have won multiple, or have won a gold medal. They were on the French gold medal winning World Cup team. They both have Bonzini World Championships. Have not won multi-table World Championships, but both outstanding players. And Hervé oftentimes, gosh, I think in his prime, Hervé might have been the better player. As good as Miguel is, and Miguel is a great player and certainly one of the best all-time Bonzini players. And we've kind of got a chance to watch him grow up, right, Tom? We've seen him. Mm-hmm. He lost, I think, in 2007. He lost in the final to Ryan Moore, I believe, in the Junior World Championship, if I remember correctly. Mm-hmm. And so these are, and I did forget them. So I wondered who I forgot. Thankfully, they're not regular listeners, and so I'm not embarrassed about that. My number 1, of course, it's Tommy Yore and Tommy Yore, not just because they're on the show tonight. I mean, obviously, Tommy Yore has had just a remarkable career, world champion player a couple of times. A man who's been so instrumental in the promotion of the sport and in the the officiating of the sport, of course, worldwide. Been such a contributor to the sport, such a class act on the American tour for so many years, and a great friend to me. Has worked in the booth with me. What hasn't Tom Yore done? And of course, Tommy, who we have watched grow up. I mean, Tom, and we'll talk about this a little bit tonight, but I remember, I've spent a lot of time with you and the family internationally, right? Whether it was in Belgium, whether it was in France, whether it was in Taiwan, where we had just a wonderful time. And so, and looking at Tommy Yore, looking at what he did in Texas, looking at the World Championship with Brandon Moreland in 2019, I mean, this is a player already who is great and destined for even greater greatness, if there is such a thing. And so for me, it's great. It really came down to the Roos and the Yores, two world champions, right? A father world champion and a child world champion. And so, for me, number one in my heart, and number 1, I think the analytics would prove it out. I think this is the best father, daughter or son combo that we've ever seen. And so, Tom, you and your son Tommy are number 1 for me.
Man.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. That's
honored.
That's great. So guys,
real quick, couple of honorable mentions. Yeah. We talk about all the great second generation players, right? Obviously, Ryan Moore's a second generation player, but it's not his father, it's his mother. And we forget Frederic Collignon, also a second generation player. Yeah, his father was a player there in Belgium, although never on the international scale, never really competed internationally. But here in this country, how about the Dijons, right? How about
yes,
about the Hearns, JJ and Logan Hearn. Mike Stahl Sr., Mike Stahl Jr., who won an expert doubles world championship together. So there are other examples of this, and hopefully one day my son or my daughter will be out on tour playing as well, and maybe we can maybe get in the top 25 or so as far as father, son, daughter. But who knows? But I wanted to put those in, and we can't forget about Fred. Can't forget that he also was a second generation player.
We had Fred and his dad. That's the thing. I didn't know. I knew his dad was a player. I didn't know how good he was or if he had any career titles or anything. So they were on the honorable mention list, as well as Robin Boris and for sure Kevin and Carlos. I mean, there's probably some other names we could throw out there, you know, father and son that everybody's familiar with, but you know, we're trying to think about, you know, who's, you know, accomplished a lot in the game and whatnot. But you know, I guess everybody's kind of made their own little mark on the game. But yeah, those were kind of our honorable mentions there as well.
Well, Tom, I just want to say from the FoosTalk Live staff here, you know, very happy Father's Day.
Really, thank you, and to you guys as well.
Oh, and really appreciate you taking some time out of the day to join us with Tommy. Now, before we bring Tommy in, I have a question for you, and this kind of goes back to last weekend's beatdown, the Beach Town Beatdown. I understand in the particular match there were some, shall we say, extra timeouts that were purchased. Now, you're one of the guys who wrote the rule book. Is there anything in the bylaws about something like that?
You know, there could be in normal tournaments, but at the beatdown, anything goes. When teams agree on it, it's the beatdown. No whining, no crying. All right. So if you're going to play best of 3 out of 5 when it's supposed to be 2 out of 3, you're going to buy timeouts. You know, get thrown out of the bar, whatever. You got to do what you got to do.
What would be a fair
Actually,
price?
it was 4 out of 7. Tommy and Tony played 4 out of 7.
There was that too, right?
Right. What is a fair price for a timeout, by the way?
I ain't paying anything for one, to be honest with you.
These were $5 each. Yeah, these were $5 each.
No,
Tommy,
forget that.
Wow.
Tommy slipped Blake a 20 right on camera there, and I'm assuming that later Blake gave him $5 and change.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not.
These are the rules.
But it's funny. It's funny.
Except at the beatdown. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's as we were saying before, it's probably a good idea that these kinds of things do occur at events like that because they're so much fun. And
it's a fun venue. It's a fun tournament. So that's what it was all about. So
Right.
it was a great time, and looking forward to going back next year.
Hey, real quick, I got a question for you too, Tom. What are you drinking tonight? I know you're an IPA drinker. Tom and I always enjoy IPAs anytime we see each other. What are you having tonight?
I'm going to do this without the whole intro. All right.
Well, hold on. You ready, Tom?
Well, hold on if you want. Oh, wait. Let me just. We've got that for you right here. Here it comes. Here's the official intro for the IPA. What Jim and I like to do right about this time is to reveal our favorite IPA. There, just for you, Tom. What do you got?
All right, appreciate that. No, what I'm drinking for the occasion, being Father's Day, straight out of Fort Worth, Texas, I'm drinking the Dad Gum IPA.
Oh yeah.
Dad Gum. Steve Murray gave me some of those Dad Gum IPAs, and they're good. Dad Gum it.
They are. No, he was very hospitable. I mean, when I first walked in on Friday evening at Texas State's, he had a cooler full of that stuff waiting. And that was real good. And I love the name. Cheers. Yeah, here's to it. Here's to Father's Day. Here's to you, Tom.
Here's to you. Happy Father's Day, Tom.
Thank you. What are you drinking, Jim?
Yeah, I had the La Cumbre elevated IPA out of Albuquerque, New Mexico, which is the closest big city to where I live, by the way. I live much closer to Albuquerque than I do to Denver, about 225 miles down the highway, Highway 550, US 550.
Is that where you fly in and out of?
No, I fly in and out of Durango. We have an airport here, believe it or not.
Okay.
Oh, big enough town. And I'm having the Two-Hearted Ale from Comstock, Michigan, and Bell's Brewery, and it's got a fish on the front label. It's
of course it does.
Good.
It's Michigan.
Of course. I think it's a steelhead bass, if I'm not mistaken, if there's such a thing. Still good. Well, yes. Okay. Well, you know, Tom, I got to say that, not to gush, but one of the finest moments at the Texas State Championships was the moment during open singles when your son did what I thought was impossible and double-dipped Tony Spredeman. And so I got to say that is something that, to me, I'll always remember being there. And I'll tell my great-grandkids that I was there. But without further ado, I'd like to bring on your son, Tommy Yore Jr. Tommy, are you with us?
Yep, I'm here. What's up?
How are you?
Hey, Tommy.
Doing good. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, so Tommy, that was an amazing moment, and it will reverberate for quite some time. Now, you and Tony Spredeman still speaking?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Tony's always Tony's never ever given me like anything after I beat him or anything like that. So he's always been really cool.
Right.
Yeah, Tony has a great deal of respect for you. I mean, you are someone who has sort of modeled your game, at least early on, to some degree after Tony's. But he's always really kind of been supportive of that, hasn't he? I mean, he's been very good for your career. He's a guy that will give you whatever you want to know. Talk a little bit about your relationship with Tony.
Oh, it's been a huge blessing. Like I've because we always used to play at Eric Holtner's house, and Tony would come over there, and I would always talk to him, always ask him questions, and I'd always try and get his opinion on some stuff, especially since we have very similar games. And he's always told me, if you ever have a question, ask me. Like he's
Cool.
never anytime I've ever asked him anything, he's always given me a great answer, and I'm extremely lucky to know him.
And this also reflects the fact that you have a very similar game to Tony. So, is that an accident, or is that just something that that happened by osmosis?
So well, when I was younger, I would stay up late, hang out with my dad, watching matches, because he'd want to like watch maybe like get info on people or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I would hang out and watch matches with my dad, and when I saw Tony's game, it really caught my eye. Looked a lot like a lot of fun. So I just went and started practicing and never looked back.
Wow. And it's worked.
Yeah, it's a very unique style. So a lot of people can struggle to block me and Tony. It's become, although it's kind of funny because we talk about it, like people have gotten a little bit better at blocking, like especially the 5-bar over the years. So yeah, I've had it a little bit harder than Tony, probably, as far as like people's experience going into Farwell Tic-Tac.
You're kind of coming in his wake, right? They've already kind of seen him, and now they're ready for you. But it's also a style. If anybody's ever tried it, it's not easy, right? That Farwell Tic-Tac series, the way he walks the ball, it's not an easy way to play. It's obviously a great way to play, but how long did it take you, really? And of course, we've kind of watched you work with this style for a good 10, 12 years, it feels like. But how long did it take you to sort of perfect it? Because it isn't that easy to learn to play that way, right?
Yeah, definitely. Luckily, when I first started practicing it, it was like during the summer of my school year. So like for those like 3 months, like all I did, I live, breathe foosball. I just practice every day. I'd watch I watched all the matches that my dad had at Tony on DVD and VHS, and I learned as much as I could. My dad helped me a lot in the process of especially the basics of a Farwell Tic-Tac and the snake shot. So it took, but as far as how long it took me probably a good year of just practicing like crazy to be able to execute.
Wow.
Yeah. So if I had to estimate it, yeah.
And then it's just a matter of continuing to work that style to get to consistency, because that's really what it comes down to. And of course, you are an extremely consistent player. You have to be in order to win championships. But let's go back a couple of years. Let's go back to the amateur singles event back. Was it 2017?
Yep.
When, obviously I knew you. I traveled around the world with you. We'd spent time with you and your mom, Leslie, and of course your dad.
Mm-hmm.
But and really we could see you had some talent. Maybe, I don't know if the interest was there. You didn't actually have the desire to be a great player at that time, but we're having fun with it. You were getting to play on different tables, etc. But then in 2017, in the amateur singles event, where there's probably 100 or 200 players in there, anything can happen. It isn't always the best player who wins amateur singles. So sometimes it's the most consistent player, right, who can survive 8 or 10 or 12 matches. But you came through and you won that event. You won it fairly easily, as I recall. But it was a bit of an eye-opener. We said, here's Tommy Yore. He's finally dedicated himself. It looks like he wants to be a great player, and he wins this event. Take us back to your mindset entering that competition. Did you feel like going into it, you were there to win?
So honestly, going into that event, this kind of like I feel I especially back in that day, I played locals every week. I probably played at someone's house as well. So I probably played 2 times a week. And at these locals, I'm going against like top pros, masters, my dad, Dylan Marshall, Eric Holtner, Mike Genshin, like all these like all these top pros and stuff like that. So like once I was playing amateur singles, like I'm used to playing against pros. So when I was playing through amateur singles, I kind of went on autopilot, if I remember correctly.
Wow.
And I didn't want to, because I feel like what a lot of people do is I all I did was just focus on playing my game, executing, and using my speed to my advantage is what I specifically remember doing for amateur singles.
So amateurs wasn't that long ago for you. I mean, what do you attribute to your incredible rise in the ranks so quickly? How did you do that?
Well, first things first, gotta give huge credit to my dad.
Yeah,
like he was a key.
Happy Father's Day, Tom.
Yeah, happy Father's Day, Padre. But yeah, but my dad was a huge part because I genuinely think my dad has like one of the best mentalities or mental games in foosball. So I really and like growing up watching him play and seeing his will to win, never backing down, and like seeing that, I think that had a big part of my development. But then the other big part, once again, I'm extremely lucky for this, being able to play against these top pros and masters week in and week out.
Right.
And and then the other thing is like I asked so many people so many questions about everything, and luckily everyone was super cool and always gave me good answers and everything. So that's mainly what I contributed, like playing against good players all the time, and then being able to learn from my dad, especially on the mental side of the game.
And
yeah, I think there's been like four main ingredients, I think, to your success. Obviously, being able to have a father who has been so successful, has that great mental approach, a very organized game. Also, the fact that you do play in probably the toughest area in the entire world. Also, the fact that you've had some mentorship from Tony Spredeman. And then the fourth thing for me is that you've had a chance to play internationally, right? You've had a chance to experience the different tables, the different cultures, the different styles, and really begin to look at foosball as more of a worldwide thing. And I think these four things, this perfect storm, has kind of come together with your work ethic, with your history in sports, being a former hockey player. All of these things, I think, have contributed. And Mark and I have talked about this on the air. Contributed to your ascending greatness. Now, talk a little bit about the international side of it, about traveling and you getting to go to these different countries, play on these different tables, play for Team USA as a junior, et cetera.
So when you mention that, you make a very good point there, actually, because back when I first started, one of my main sources of foosball was the World Cup and playing in juniors, because the only tournament I went to really in the U.S. was Texas State. I didn't get to go to any of the other major ones because I played hockey at the time. There was always a hockey tournament on the weekend of the big foosball tournament, especially Worlds. I always remember I never got to go to Worlds because of that. But yeah, but me always like playing like in Nantes in the World Cup and everything. I got to see like consistently that side of foosball and like what it can be like playing like, and I got to experience like for instance, I forgot what year it was, but it was France versus US in the World Cup finals, and we're in not France, and it was like crazy loud and everyone was cheering, and I got to experience that side of foosball, and I think that really made that definitely was an awesome experience for me at a young age to see if I work hard enough I can get to like that spot. So I think that definitely helped me, and then obviously all the experience on the other tables was very helpful as well.
Now, Tom, you're senior. When did you first recognize that there was some talent in your son? Was there a moment at home, like those, like the first steps of the first time he spoke? What was the first time that you noticed he had talent for foosball?
Well, it certainly wasn't when he tried his first snake shot, I can tell you that. Yeah, let's start trying to flip it over and hit it straight before you try to move it and walk it around. But
yep, I remember that.
Yep. It was probably towards the tail end of that summer that he talked about when he, Tommy was watching all the videos and he would hit pause, see Tony do something, hit pause and go out there for an hour working on what he just saw. Then he'd come back in and watch some more and see something, and he'd go back out there and work on something else. But it was towards the end of that summer, maybe 3 or 4 months down the road, that he wanted to, hit the ball around, play some singles and whatnot. And I could see that his transition, catching loose balls, this was the big eye opener for me is, his natural instinct when, the ball's going by my 5 bar and I'm thinking I'm going ready to catch it on my 2 bar, and he snaps up there and pins it on his 3 bar. And he did a few times. I'm like, holy crap, this kid's fast, and precise. So, it was, not that far into him actually wanting to be good and practicing where I realized the kid's got talent. So that was it for me.
Well, we want to know, did you get it on video?
No. That was in the sweat box in the garage at the time. That was not conducive to running videotape. It was.
So, Tommy, you had a bit of a diversion along the way. You wanted to get into hockey. Now, was there a point where you thought maybe you'd like to go pro with hockey?
I mean, like when I was a little kid, I wanted to go pro in hockey, but it wasn't. I knew I wasn't gonna ever go pro in it. Like eventually, I kind of just kept playing it just cause I don't know. It was I kind of for a brief period I wanted to play college hockey. But then I kind of realized, like, I don't really want to do that either, so I stopped playing.
Right. Now, coming from a perspective of a guy in the Northeast, very close to the Canadian border, I always wonder, how does somebody from Florida get into hockey?
You probably should ask my dad that question, because I think the reason my dad said was because I played soccer, but he didn't want me to play soccer because it was so hot outside. He wanted rather me play hockey. So
there is truth in baking on the sideline on a Sunday morning.
I think it was Tom. Tom didn't want it to be so hot as what it was, right? You didn't want to be out there in the heat.
So what happened actually, at our church, Tommy was in a group or a youth group or something or whatever, and a friend that he met, his dad was a hockey coach at the rink, the local rink. So he invited Tommy and his friend, Tommy's friend Dominic was a goalie and his dad was a coach, and they invited Tommy to come out on the ice. So they let him borrow a pair of skates, and he went out there, and another coach was working with them, and so it was that invite that got him on the ice, and he loved it from that point forward. But this is Tampa Bay. We've got the Lightning. They had won the Stanley Cup. We've got right now probably 7 or 8 rinks in the greater Tampa Bay area.
No doubt.
So it's actually a huge hockey area, and many people involved in the hockey world down here in the Tampa Bay area are from the Northeast. They're from Chicago. There's a huge hockey contingency down here that are transplants from other places. So very strong influence in the hockey world down here, and there's a lot of great teams, national championship teams. So that's how he got into hockey, though. It was that invite to get on the ice with a rec team, as a little house team, and so he played. They actually got him on the ice the last 3 games of the season.
Cool.
He started learning to skate, and then he got actually pretty good. Played up to junior hockey level. He played on many travel teams. I mean, we were, like you said, he missed a lot of tournaments because he was always traveling. I mean, we did a lot of traveling for hockey. I mean, we were all over. It was almost like chasing foosball tournaments. Very similar. So at times, but I think. Right around, was it Tommy, Germany? I think after the World Cup, Germany is when Tommy flipped the switch and decided he was done with hockey, and it's foosball.
Right.
Full force.
Yeah, because at the time I was deciding whether I wanted to play another season of hockey or not, and I like, something for me is I like to have something competitive in my life. I kind of need that competitiveness, and I like at that. Like around that time in Germany, I realized I think I could get that with foosball instead of hockey.
Yeah, no,
well, and that's amazing. You win the amateur title in 2017. You win the open doubles title in 2019. Just 2 years later, it's crazy. And by the way, the NHL, when they first began expanding, they expanded to Los Angeles, later to Orange County in Southern California, to Phoenix, to Dallas, down into Florida with a couple of teams. In Carolina, et cetera, and it's really, Tom, has become a North American sport more than just Canadian. In fact, when do you think the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup was? It's been a couple of decades since a Canadian team has won it.
Go figure.
And so, but one question I have for you, over the years, as a tennis fan, I've watched Venus and Serena play against each other in singles. And the first time they played together, I said, this is, how are they going to handle this? Are they going to compete against each other? And really, they don't, right? They get in there, and it almost seems predetermined. One of them, it's almost like Collignon versus Lafredo back in the day. It was predetermined. But it, and it was disappointing. These are maybe the 2 best lady tennis players in the world, Venus and Serena Williams, and they don't play against each other. They don't compete. That's not the case with you guys. When you guys play against each other, you compete. And maybe it's because you compete at home, but who has to do dishes or whatever. But it's so refreshing. And I think I know the answer to this, but I'm going to let you answer first here, Tom. In that, you're playing your son. If I'm playing my son, I'm not sure I could compete against him. I'm really not, right? But you do. And Tommy, you compete against your dad. And these are really good matches when you guys play against each other. There's been a couple of one-sided ones maybe, but you guys compete. And Tom, talk a little bit about competing against your son and how difficult that could be.
Well, it is difficult in two ways, because number one, he's just so good. And another is, I want him to succeed and do well. But at the same time, I'm a competitor, and, I don't do him any favors by letting him win. That's a bad lesson. So, I still want him to earn it. I still want him to earn it. And I'll fight, as much as I can, and scrap and battle and do whatever I can to make him earn it. But I'm still trying to win. That's the way I play. No matter who it is, I'm playing to win. So I'm not giving anything away for free. Proud of him if he beats me. I'll feel for him if he's upset about losing. But I'll be there for you, buddy.
Yeah, I love it.
And conversely, Tommy, playing against your dad, I'm sure the motivation might be there. A son against a dad might be easier than a dad against his son, right?
Yeah. For me personally, it's it's annoying because, like, I don't know, like, it's weird. Like, it's just such a weird feeling playing against my dad. Like, I don't want to lose, but then, like, I'm like happy for him if he wins and stuff like that. But I don't know. It's just a weird situation.
Yeah. A lot of emotions there. No, I've seen this kind of thing happen before. I know that in our area in Albany, New York, in the 518, we have Sammy Dijon and his dad Nino, and father son kind of thing, and they've always played against each other at DYPs and stuff. But you go to their house and they've got 5 foosball tables in the basement. How about you guys? How many tables are in the house?
We're down to just one now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had the Garlando and the Roberto Sport and the Tornado at one point, and the Garlando is nearby over at Eric's place. I sold the Roberto Sport and just have the Tornado table. So
gotcha. Will that change before Worlds?
Well, over at Eric's, he's got the Garlando and the whatchamacallit, the Bonzini and the Tornado. Yeah, so he's got those, and that's the ones that we really need to train on. So
right.
Hey Tom, has scrimmaging against
Tom. Hey, can we? Hey, you guys, I have an IPA. Can we start over and have my top 5 ready?
Play it again, Sam. I mean, Tom.
You've got an IPA.
Did we win?
I finally got you on IPAs, Mark Torres.
Dude, Tom, did we win? Did we win the top 5, or did you fail? Just answer that.
No, we threw a curveball, and unfortunately, I think you won by default.
Yeah.
No, I
surprised.
No, you did not. I had the Yores number 1. He had two players that you have never heard of in your life, Mark Torres. How's that? So I think I win.
So I totally won. If I didn't know who they were, nice job, Tom. Well done.
Yeah.
By the way,
I'll let you guys decide.
Guys,
what are you drinking, Mark?
Yeah, Mark. That's my
Kidding.
question.
I don't drink unless it's a foosball tournament. Sorry, Tom Robinson. What were you saying, dude? Just keep cutting you off, man.
I was just saying that you've just come off this grand experiment, trying out this new drink at the Beach Town Beatdown called the Mauler. Yeah. How did the experiment go, by the way?
It was actually, I really liked it. It was really good. It had like fresh watermelon in it. If you didn't know what you were drinking, I bought one for Tommy Adkisson. He said it tasted like soap. But everyone else I bought one that knew what was in it, they liked it. So Tommy Adkisson, of course. Oh my gosh, Tommy Adkisson. Holy crap. Tommy Yore. What about that Tommy Yore guy? These guys can party, man. These guys were late. These guys were late out, man. Did we talk about Saturday night or what was it, Sunday night? Tommy, you in there? Tommy.
Yeah, I am. What's up?
Do we have a great time or what? Like you and Eric just show up out of nowhere and like holy. Was that Saturday? That was
Saturday. It was Saturday.
Oh, dude, that was great.
4 words for you, Tommy. Just say it was the beatdown. It was the beatdown.
That's all you got to say.
That's it. That explains everything.
That's a disclaimer right there. It was the Beach Town Beatdown. Yeah.
Tommy, so I want to ask Tommy a question. Are you a vodka soda guy? I couldn't figure it out. What was
I was having what was I drinking? I think I was drinking vodka tonics. I think either that or gin and tonic. I can't remember. One of those two.
Hardcore.
Crazy. I gotta say, let me finish before I'll let you guys continue. I was completely disruptive. I know this, right? But it was Monday. No, it was Sunday morning, and I go out to they have a breakfast for they have breakfast at the beach. This lovely thing, breakfast at the beach, and I go down there, and I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's Tommy Adkisson sitting on a cooler. Okay, if you guys didn't, Tommy Adkisson drank till 4 a.m. and now he's at 7 a.m. He's sitting there like maybe 8:30, right, Jim? He's sitting on a cooler, and I go touch his shirt. He's soaking wet. That dude went from like some bar that closed at 4 a.m. to I don't know where the hell he wandered around to the beach, like in the water. And then he was like,
you know what?
Go
Not
ahead,
to cut you off, Mark, but I talked to him. He went and slept for about 3 hours and then went to the beach.
Oh my gosh. That dude's psychotic.
It was the beatdown. Repeat after me.
Exactly.
It was the beatdown.
Anything goes.
Anything goes. Anything went.
You guys got to go every year. That's gonna. So Tommy Brewer was talking about before I let you continue with your show, guys. Tommy Brewer was talking about how
it's your show too, Mark. Or at least we thought up till now.
They were questioning about, should we do it again next year at this location? I'm like, absolutely, man. You got to do this. You got to do this party, this tournament every year at this location. Yeah, have another one if you want, but that's a very special location. Tom and Tommy, I'm expecting you to be there every single year, right? Every year, man.
I'm in. Yeah, that's
I'll be there.
Yeah, I love it.
He may not play, but he'll be there.
He'll be there. Yeah. Hey, you're listening to FoosTalk Live. This is Jim Stevens along with Tom and Toro. How about that? On a Sunday night, as we're talking to Tom and Tommy Yore on a special Father's Day edition of FoosTalk Live. We talked about how you guys play against each other, and one thing Mark Torres and I talked about in the booth last weekend, and it's been sort of a theme with the game of Tom Yore, is your new pull shot, Tom. Your new lateral speed on the pull shot, your new kind of release, your almost new stance, your new approach to the pull shot. How much of that is due to having to face the incredibly quick Tommy Yore in when scrimmaging and practicing?
Probably is a factor, and it's not just Tommy. It's lately over the last year and a half. I've just every now and again I kind of reevaluate my game and just kind of get a sense of where I'm at, and my results haven't been too stellar the last year and a half, and I'm just trying to figure out what's going on with my game, and part of that problem is people figured out my pull shot, my options, and maybe I'm giving something away with how I set up, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's always kind of been a knock on my game is my pull shot's never really been fast enough. And, the last time I really did a major tweak on my shot was between the 04 and 05 season. And that 05 season was very good for me. I had 3 or 4 top finishes with a world title mixed in. So, I made my shot faster and I worked at it, but it still, hasn't been all that great. So now I've been, just trying to figure out how to make my shot faster. I've been working at it, and a new grip and a new stroke type, less backswing, more efficient stroke. It's been working. So unfortunately, over the last month or so, I haven't had enough time to get on a table and practice. Doing a home renovation as well as other circumstances. But I only have half a table right now. So for the last month and a half, I haven't played against anybody at home. And I haven't really hit any tournaments either. So it's like, right before the Battle in the Mountains, I had worked on my shot, went to the Battle of the Mountains and felt pretty good about my shot. It was looking good in spurts, and then it would drop off, and I'd feel some wrist pain because it's a whole different motion, a whole different stroke. And then, I started, practicing locally. It was looking good. And then I don't know, I just haven't had an opportunity to get on the table ever since. So it's kind of been hit or miss. I've had some matches, at Texas State, I had some matches where just, it felt good. I was stroking. I was seeing it. My timing was good. I was getting to the hole faster when, people are trying to race me. I wasn't getting raced. So that felt good too. But still,
I don't think your shot has ever looked faster. I don't think it's ever looked better than it does now. The lateral speed on your shot, here you are at the age of 39, and making little adjustments and improvements to your game. That doesn't happen very often. I know Dave Gummison, kind of influenced by Tracy McMillan, made an adjustment to his game 15 years ago or whatever, to his pull shot, more upright stance, etc. But to really see this, your shot is definitely faster and maybe a little longer. Obviously, the mental side is still there. You're still able to pick those insides beautifully. But I would have to think this has got to be kind of, inspiring for you moving forward, because you really have a great deal of confidence now in that really fast long.
And to your point, I am hitting it longer. I could feel it. It's like I'm hitting it out on the line, whereas before I might have been just a little past 3/4 to the long, but now it's actually getting out there a smidge farther. So it's all part of the new stroke. It's allowing that ball to go a little deeper and a little faster. So I'm still not there yet. I'm probably I've got a lot more room to grow with that shot and consistency and speed and whatnot. So I am looking forward to getting my table set up fully where I can actually do some real practicing. But it's not just my stroke though. That's not the only thing I've been working on. I've been modifying my 5-bar series as well. I've been working on a different type of a similar options to what I normally do out of the modified Tic Tac series, but I've been working on different passing options as well that have been working well for me as too in the last few tournaments I've played. So it's still a work in progress, but
And one final point on that from me, and of course, knowing you and knowing the competitor that you are, one of the great competitors in the history of the sport, I'm sure none of this has to do with the fact that your son is a world champion and is every bit as good as you are, if not better, right?
Yeah, I would go with the or better part. But I mean, there's certainly a motivating factor there. But I'm just if I'm going to continue playing the game, I know what I have to do to remain competitive. So I've got to keep honing in my skills and trying to improve. Otherwise I'm just going to be a middle of the road player who does well every now and again. I don't want that. I want to do well every tournament and put myself
out to pasture, bro. Start working on that goalie game. I know a forward named Tommy who'll probably carry you to third place every time until you fail.
You're joking, but I could actually be a good goalie if I dedicated my time to it.
I'm not kidding. Why am I kidding? I'm not kidding at all. I'm kind of kidding. I'm obviously being rude. I'm being horrible about it. But the reality is, you look at. Well, let's talk about a couple things real quick. Nothing will compel someone to innovate quicker than competition. And you get these young guys, right? Like Kevin Romero and Brandon Munoz and even like Dylan Marshall. These guys bring the heat and they expose what we can't avoid, man. We're getting older, right? The fast twitch, we have to come to terms with that. So we have to evolve. It's not like becoming a goalie is a bad thing. So it could
have been worse. You might have put me on the senior team or something.
Oh, dude, yeah. I've actually been lobbying. I've been lobbying that for 3 episodes now.
Oh, great.
But Tommy, I'd
rather play open goalie than senior forward.
There you go. Tommy, got a question for you, man. You're doing something incredible. I mean this, something I could not do. I could not be academically astute and I could not get grades and play foosball. I had to choose one or the other. But I know this. I know there's got to be ups and downs for you. There's got to be, right? There's got to be the roller coaster because you play at such a high level. You're a world champion. How are you managing that piece? I mean, is it kind of polar? Do you go up really high, get the highs and lows of wanting to compete? How are you dealing with that?
I really focus on school over foosball, especially lately, ever since the spring semester. So to be fair, for a long time now, there because of COVID, there wasn't too many foosball tournaments. So
that's right.
I really got to just worry about school during that time. I've only been to Florida State, Louisiana State, and this tournament since COVID, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure.
Texas State.
Yeah, Texas. I meant to say that, sorry. But so I haven't really even been to too many tournaments. So for a while I haven't had to really worry about that. But now my studies are getting more difficult and stuff. So it basically is going to entail me mainly focusing on on school over foosball.
How about the emotional? Sorry, one last thing for. How about the emotional part of wanting? So you've been around the game since early childhood, right? And you bust out, you win your amateur singles world championship, and you're like, okay, this is fun, this is good. You keep playing, you elevate. Now you're like a high level pro. You're beating masters all the time. You're doing really well in singles. Are there a lot of emotional up and down that you manage, or do you always love playing foosball? That's my question for you.
So I always enjoy winning. I enjoy the competitive nature of the game, but it definitely can be tough to play foosball. It's because the thing about me is I'm an extremely emotional player. I always play all out every time I play on the table. So especially losing can be really tough for me in a lot of situations. Mm-hmm. So definitely the emotion, it can get really emotional, especially for me, because I just like I said, just play with my heart every match.
This,
I love that though.
Yeah, this brings to mind, by the way, how cool-headed you were in the second set against Tony Spredeman as you were double dipping him. There was a point at which you blocked at least 5 or 6 of his shots in a row. And I'm thinking, what is going through your mind? How are you doing that?
Lots and lots and lots of experience playing against him. Okay. I know his shot inside and out. Mm-hmm. He's made some adjustments lately. It's made him even harder to block. But he's the thing is I understand what he's thinking a lot of the times. Like whenever I watched him shoot on everybody, because if I ever want to try and learn how to score on someone, I just go watch him shoot on him, see what he does.
Sure.
So I feel like I have a decent idea of what he looks for and stuff like that, and I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm able to. Block him sometimes. Keyword sometimes.
Yeah. No. Does he like to focus on the inside, or does he like to go to the corners?
Everything.
Everything. Anything and everything.
Yes.
How do you deal with that?
You have to, in my opinion, the most important thing is being disciplined. Like when blocking Tony, if you're not disciplined, he will score on you every time.
Right.
He'll fake you off of holes, and he'll score almost every time he gets the ball. And the worst part about Tony is he'll keep doing it until you block him. Mm-hmm. And force you to be there, and then he'll go somewhere else. So I think the biggest and most important thing about blocking Tony is being disciplined.
Wow.
Yeah, for me, as somebody who has maybe been a part of more championship matches than anybody in history, right? How many have I seen, both here in this country and internationally? This match that you and Tony was played at a level that certainly is rarely seen. Obviously, Tony versus Ryan, there were a few times when they weren't goofing off or when was in his prime, where you would see both sides of the table playing at an extremely high level, right? Billy Pappas has always been kind of up and down. When I talk about the truly elite players, Mark and I've had this conversation many times. It's Tony, it's Ryan, it's Fred, it's Billy. And now you're playing at that level. That's what we saw in that match. For me, those kind of matches are thrilling, doing what I do, to be able to watch both guys on the table competing at the highest level with extraordinary skills, with skills that have really been displayed by only literally a handful of players throughout history. But for a young player like you, who 3.5 years ago was an amateur, to have the confidence to go up against Tony Spredeman, to not have the fear that so many people have when going up against these super elite players, right? You stared him in the eye. You were equal to him. You were, it was mano a mano. It was a heavyweight fight, more than anything I can remember in recent history. This was body punch, left hook. This was truly a match played at the highest level. Mm-hmm. I guess my question out of all of that is, how is it that you feel the confidence to compete head to head with him on an equal level, not fear him, have the confidence in your game, in yourself, in your competitive attitude to battle him like that in a heavyweight battle, which is what that was? How is that something innate? Is it something you got from, partially, certainly from your dad, from your confidence over winning the world championship? Where did that come from?
That's a very good question. Even I don't know, but I would say the key thing is from my dad, and my dad's I know for a fact has never backed down against anybody. And like I've always, and a lot of people when they go into matches against good players, they go, "Oh, I can't win," or something like that. But that's just not in my DNA, I guess you could say. Like I like even like let's even say before the match, I'm like, I'm kind of down. I'm like, oh, I'm playing against a good player, and I'm like, oh, geez, it's gonna be tough. But once I get into the match, it like I don't know what happens. Like it just my mentality just changes, and I have. And I feel like, or what's a good way of putting it? I get into the match and I don't care who I'm playing against. My only thing I want to do is win.
That's great. That is a quality that we've always debated this. Yeah, there's great players out there, but there's that extra something, that certain ingredient we can't put our finger on necessarily, and maybe that's it. It's just not fearing or not caring.
Yeah, that's a very, like, as Tony likes to say, you have to have it. That's what Tony will always say. And it's like it's such a vague thing to say, right?
Yep.
And we don't really have, like, we haven't been able to quantify it. But yeah.
It is so true. It's so true in most major sports. There are those legends. You look, I don't know, let's go way back to the 1920s and 30s with Babe Ruth. I mean, here's a guy he was overweight. He had a lousy diet. But he would hit, I mean, he set 714 home runs in his career. I mean, how does a guy do that, especially in that kind of condition? And there was no such thing.
He has it.
Right. Yeah. Right. And no such thing as, drugging back in those days or steroids. And you look at the guys today.
He tried, though.
Yeah, did he?
Oh, he's legendary. He rarely slept. We'll put it that way.
Okay, but he had that. He was it, right? There was something about that extra ingredient that was missing from everybody else's game. So, Tommy, I would say clearly, especially watching after that open singles match in Texas, man, you got it.
Thank you. It's just a product of my environment.
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
it is
for sure. And I guess I got one last question for Tom. And as a father, my son Kian just turned 7. When I watch him play t-ball, when I watch him make a play, catch the ball, throw it to first, or hit a ball, to the outfield, there's a great deal of pride. I feel, unlike anything I've ever felt. There's nothing else like the pride you feel in your son or daughter when they accomplish something. I can only imagine what you must be feeling as somebody who, foosball has been so important to you, Tom, for so many years. It's been such a major part of your life, such a part of you, right? And to see your son accomplishing what he is accomplishing and doing it in the way he's doing it. He's doing it with class. He's doing it the right way, right? He's competing at the highest level. Talk a little bit about the pride that you feel in your son, Tommy.
Immense, yeah, and it's more, in his character. The skill and talent in foosball is great, but the man that he's become is what gives me the most pride. As far as the game is concerned, the fact that he made this his own. He didn't take after me and my style of play or anything like that. He went out and picked like the hardest freaking style you can think of to emulate and mastered it and made that his own, and now is obviously successful. That's he picked that up on his own. I never forced him to play hockey or any other sport, and he took it upon himself. I mean, he's right when a lot of times even at major tournament, he had more experience with foosball at international tournaments than he did domestic. He would, if I brought him to a tournament, he rarely came down to the tournament room. My wife Leslie would take him, off to do other things, sightseeing and other things. And, he didn't spend a lot of time around the foosball atmosphere. So, he had more exposure internationally than he did locally. But the fact that he decided, on his own that he wanted to play foosball and work at being a great player, that's all on him, so I helped along the way and try to obviously teach the character portion of it, but the rest is all him. So that's what makes me proud.
So, Tom, it's funny because I've had this conversation with many of my friends who have raised children, and one of the biggest fears, I believe, because I've never raised kids, just cats. One of the things that that parents fear the most is, how do I raise a good person? Just a person who's a good and righteous individual. How do we do that? It's there's no manual that comes with the birth of a child.
It's called the Old Testament, Tom. And it has to be throwing stones. You got to throw stones at your children. That's character building.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. Let's get to a good question. Hey, you guys.
Well, I'll address that real quick.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, just to give you an honest answer, it's don't be a hypocritical parent. Don't tell your kid not to do something that you do. Basically. So I've made it my goal to live the life that I want him to live. So, I'm not going to be a bad example to my son, who I want to grow up to be a good man. So that's what I've, strive to do as a father, is to, show him the right way by example.
No, that's a terrific answer. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Mark?
Hey, guys. Yeah, my turn.
No jokes on that one, huh, Mark?
No, because it's real. It's good. It's too heartfelt. I got a soul. I mean, I got conscience.
Do you?
Anyway, so listen, guys. I think the gap, I've talked about this so many times on the show, if you've listened to it, the gap between amateur and expert is a gap, and then there's a gap between expert, there's a gap, but the gap between pro and master is the biggest gap, in my opinion, because the skill level is relatively equal at that point. I mean, some guys could do things better than others, some are a little quicker, but that's why
more consistent, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that for sure. But when you get to the high pro level, there's parity. This guy's got a better push shot than me, but I got a better spray pull shot, and all these. It's all pretty equal, in my opinion. So then there's that chasm, which is how people deal with pressure situations. And so you guys have heard me ask this question. I don't think I've asked it to you, Tom, because I don't think we've ever been I think you've always come on as a kind of a guest. I want to ask you, Tom, and I want to ask you, Tommy. You're more of a fixture than a guest, man. You're you could jump on whenever you want, right? We consider you part of the team. But the question is the one you've heard me ask over and over. The biggest difference between people being good at foosball and great, and the people that take second and third, which there are a litany of them, there's an ocean of them, and the people that win championships, is their decision making under pressure. How do you manage yourself? And it's funny, I just read an article 2 days ago. It's amazing. I should probably forward it to you guys. They measured brainwave.
Send that to me.
Yeah, no, it's sick. So it's about brainwave activity in pressure situations in sports, and it measures brainwave activity, and they see the people that choke, if you want to call it that. Yeah. The people that choke are engaging parts of the brain that have less to do with execution. They have more to do with other things. So the brain is not focused on the moment. They have data now. Anyway, let's get to the question. So Tom and then Tommy, how you guys are winners, right? You guys are world champions. You guys have done it at the highest level. In order to do that, you've had to overcome the stress and execute in the moment. What happens in your brain, Tom, that allows you to function at a high level when the pressure's on? And the next Tommy, same question.
For me, unfortunately, I'm not as consistent as I'd like to be. So there's moments where, I'm thinking clearly in that moment. Everything's working. I have a plan. And I'd have to answer that, having a strong game plan and strategy on those big moments, in those big moments is crucial. So unfortunately, when I've had my most success, I've had a plan and I've executed that plan in those big moments, but sometimes I forget. Sometimes I let emotions, get a hold of me and I, forget the plan and I just go on instinct or impulse. More impulse than instinct. Usually my instincts are more right on than my impulse, but sometimes I just kind of rush and get caught up in it. I remember back, Jim will remember this, in '94 when Casey Pruitt and I won the national doubles title. Jim was in my ear because I was up there working the booth with him, and he just kept hammering away. Take your time, breathe, have a plan.
Be in the moment.
Be in the moment. He that advice, stuck with me. And, I thought about that in '94 and when I won singles against Gummison in '97. So that's what I always remember. When I've had my best success, I always came in with a game plan and I executed on that game plan. There's times where I'm in that moment and I just totally lose my mind and don't know what I'm doing, and I just forget to formulate a game plan. When I take a 2-0 timeout, that's to regroup and get back to my game plan. That's usually what's going on in my head. So to answer your question, when I have that moment and I succeed, it's usually because I've thought about what I'm going to do. I had a plan of what I was going to do, and I executed on that plan. That's my answer.
Tommy?
Oh yeah, that's right. My bad. So like, I agree with my dad in the sense that I agree the most important thing is to formulate a game plan, and then execute it with confidence. I think that's the biggest thing. One of the people that I think is like a really good example of this, and I think he's one of the best closers in foosball, is Ryan. I mean, obviously, Ryan, he's gonna do something. He's gonna blast it with confidence, and that's kind of like one of. I kind of thought about that because, like, especially when I was first like coming up and everything for like good solid and still to this day, like I could hesitate in like a big moment, and I realized I'm kind of realized as I've played more, like I'm much better off just executing a good shot with confidence than I am being hesitant. And I agree with my dad in this, especially at Texas State. Like I would get a game plan, and all I'd focus on is execution. It's all that would matter to me. Get a game plan, get a good idea of a shot that I want to shoot, execute. And the other thing that I really like to do is like I kind of like to ignore, like, I mean, this kind of is obvious, but ignore everything else that's going on around me. Like nothing matters. Like it doesn't matter what the score is. Doesn't matter if you like nothing matters except for putting the ball in the play and executing a good shot. And then if the shot, the other thing is if your game plan doesn't look like it's going to work out and they give you something different, then make a decision in the moment and be confident with it and stick to it.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's good to have a game plan, but you have to be able to adjust as well. And what both of you kind of said, in your own ways, was there's no fear of failure, right? You're going for it. To be a champion, to be a winner, you don't worry about losing. You don't worry about failing. You're going for it, right? If you fail, you fail. Hey, you've got to try. If you don't play, you can't win. Yeah, sort of thing. And that's kind of the message we've got from both of you. Similar perspectives, but coming at it from different angles. And 2 world champions, 2 outstanding players, a father and son. What a great night to really hear 2 different perspectives from both the father point of view and the son point of view. And guys, I really appreciate both of you. I think we've all kind of learned a little bit tonight. I know I have. And we really appreciate you being with us.
And I have one more question for you, because we have there's the future. We have 2022 coming up, World Cup.
Yeah.
Are you two, presumably both of you are going to be there with Team USA. What are you doing individually and collectively to prepare for France?
Well, I'll go first. I'm just trying to play as many tournaments as I can to put myself in that conversation. There's no guarantees, so I just got to do my best and just try to win some tournaments and just give myself a good chance to be part of that conversation.
Cool. Tommy?
And for me, I'm just I no specific preparation or anything. I just I mean, once it gets closer, I'm gonna play on the multi. I'm gonna make sure I get as much practice as possible. I'm gonna get a lot of practice on Bonzini, Garlando. I pray somehow I can get some practice on Leonhardt. Because that's the table that's played the most over there. At least that's the one that I played the most on, and that's the only table I didn't get to practice on. So I think one of my main goals is to try and get like a decent amount of practice on Leonhardt.
And is out of all the 5 tables, obviously Tornado is your favorite. What is your second favorite?
Bonzini.
Bonzini, nice. Finally, I get a Bonzini fan. It took me over a year to finally get somebody to say they love Bonzini.
I love it too. Yeah.
He
I have a
didn't
feeling.
say it, but if you asked him what his favorite table is and didn't qualify it was other than Tornado, he might have said Bonzini.
Oh,
sure.
Yeah. You still got a little ways to go before you beat the fastest shot ever on a Bonzini. But anyway, Mark Torres, you might have one more
Dude, that
question.
wasn't me. That was someone else who was laughing and it was hysterical. It was like a maniacal.
Tommy.
Yes, hilarious. It's not, Jim. It's not. Anyway,
I don't think you can get any faster than that shot. I've seen it. I watched it on
Yeah,
YouTube.
you're referencing your
World's
YouTube
fastest
video.
foosball
Yeah.
shot. Yeah, incredibly fast. That shot disappears.
Split second.
Mark, you probably have one more question, I'm guessing.
I don't know. Let me think about it. Go you first.
No, again, next year, I don't doubt that both of you are probably going to be on Team USA. Tommy, you probably should have been on 2019. Tom Yore has been a part of every single World Cup team. Tom has 6 gold medals from Team USA and another one in doubles. I don't think anyone has more gold medals than you do, Tom. Maybe Mares has an equal amount. But I think both of you probably will be there, both of you competing for Team USA. And as we grow closer to that event, it's really going to become the signature event that we kind of point to and we look at. And here at FoosTalk Live, we're going to be looking at that probably sooner rather than later as we get closer to selection time. But there isn't any question in my mind that you both deserve to be on the team. And I look forward, of course, to what is the greatest event in foosball and one that we haven't seen in a few years and looking forward to next year. So, again, thanks again, guys. I appreciate it. Mark, you want to follow up with one final question?
I got a question. I got a comment on that because I spoke to Klaus, who's on the Sports Commission, and he's with the IT. He's the ITSF board, and he said that the next World Cup, they have money. They have more money than they've had, and
Really?
they have they have sponsors. And this next World Cup is supposed to be ridiculous. He's telling me that it's going to be bananas. They have more resources and support than they've ever had, and they're going to do the next one is supposed to be obscene in the best of ways. I'm going to be at that tournament with vodka tonic in my hand, harassing you guys.
Do they have vodka in France?
We're all there, man. We're all there. We're all there. It's going to be. It's going to be like Beach Town Beatdown, but it's going to be in France. Boom.
Times 10.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. Been enjoyable to spend the evening with you guys.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Absolutely.
Much appreciated.
Yeah,
man.
Happy Father's Day.
Tom. Thank you, Tommy.
Yeah, thanks
you.
for having me,
Happy
guys.
Father's Day to you Padres out there.
Tommy, this
happy
is
Father's Day to everybody.
Hopefully, this is the first of many appearances with both Tom and Tommy Yore. We're looking forward to talking to you again very, very soon. Thank you both for being here on FoosTalk Live.
See you guys. Take care.
Yeah,
you guys.
Well,
I think Tom Yore's been on the show more than anyone, except for the three of us. I think.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm pretty sure.
Absolutely.
He's always a great guest. Yeah,
Oh,
Tom's great.
And it's it's interesting because Tom and I had our first face-to-face conversation at Texas State, and like so many others, and just instantly knew this guy. I'm like, oh, I know you. Oh, yeah, we know each other. Okay, that's interesting because we've worked so much with FoosTalk Live. It was kind of a neat feeling.
It is, and it's kind of a byproduct of this past 14, 16 months that you have talked to people, remotely with Zoom and whatever, or on FoosTalk Live, and then you meet them in person, or you see them in person, and it's like, I know you.
Yeah.
We're friends, and it's, that's part of what this last 14 months have been like, for sure.
Right.
I got a question.
Hey, Mark, I'm glad you could join us tonight, by the way, buddy.
I made steak and chimichurri, and I was so late getting it together.
You made the chimichurri. Yeah.
You were
no
cooking
beef Wellington.
No, but chimichurri was out of garden.
Wait. Hold on a second.
Stuff.
How does it happen on Father's Day that father has to cook? What is up with that?
Because he enjoys it.
I like it.
He enjoys it.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey man, I want to call it right now. Let's see. It says, has Bud and Tony ever won an open doubles major? I don't think they have, right?
They have not. The World Championships, the best they've ever done is a 5th place finish, which was impressive. But no, they have never won a major. They've won a couple other titles.
Tornado specific, right? So because we know that they've been. I'm going to say I think if Tom Yore decides at some point, he will decide to focus on his goalie game, which will be no small task. It'll be no small task. It's not easy, and he's a forward at heart and spirit. So it's a mental transition, like laying the ball up and not wanting to score every time and all that. But I think they could be the first team.
He's got to do it. He's got to do it, right?
I think they'll be the first father and son team to win a major, if not a world championship. I think they can do it.
What better option is there? Maybe Sully and Terry playing mixed doubles could win a mixed doubles championship, I think, maybe with Sully playing forward even, right?
Sure.
But no, Tom's got to do it at some point when Tom...
See, there's another thing too. I think Sully is going to get to a spot where she could be the first woman to win open doubles
awesome.
major
Right.
as a four. Not open. We know Moya won open mixed the worlds. Yes, that's been done. And we know Cindy won a Dynamo open doubles, but I don't think it was a 10 grander, which is no small feat. A 10 grander in the 80s. But I think that Sully and Terry can win an open doubles major before it's all said and done with Sully playing.
I love that. That'd be amazing. What a story would be. And certainly she has that kind of a game, right? Her 5 and 3 are both better than probably 80 to 90% of the male players out there.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just that though, it's the mental piece of you could this young lady who comes across as sweet as a butterfly, gets a look on her face like she wants to fry your liver and eat it, and she's scary. She's actually scary. I think Sully can go sky's the limit for her.
You know what? Here's the message I get from tonight and from us kind of emerging from the cocoon over the last month or so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the future is going to be different. It is going to be different,
Oh, yeah.
and there is going to be more equality, so to speak. That things are headed in different directions. How could they not be? I mean, when we look back on this last year and a half or so, when we look back 10 or 20 years from now, we're going to see a jump in evolution in so many different ways, right?
Sure.
There are things that have died, things that have not been able to survive, but other things flourished and thrived and moved off in directions maybe we never saw coming. And foosball, I think, is one of those. I think we're emerging from this stronger than ever.
Yep, it's like a springboard.
And like Mark says, absolutely, the sky's the limit. Sully could win an open doubles world championship. Tom and Tommy together, absolutely that could happen and probably will.
Yeah, and you've got all these new factors coming in. All of a sudden, you've got, Kevin Romero. You've got, Brandon Munoz.
Did you guys talk about Blake beating Tony at the Beach Town Beatdown?
We did early on. No, we did not. No, and that's a good point. We could close the show with that for sure. That Blake, and of course Mark can attest to this. Mark did an interview on Facebook Live with Tony and Blake right before the winners bracket final in open singles down at the Beatdown. And he asked several questions, and then he got to the question of, you guys have played a lot against each other, right? What's your record like? And it took Blake a couple of seconds to answer. And Blake was leaning on the table, kind of looking up at the camera, and he says, I've never beaten Tony. I've never beaten
16 years. 16 years.
It meant a lot to him, right? It meant everything to him. It was one of you really touched one of his real scars in his game. And sure enough, moments later, he beats him in the winners bracket final. And then goes to the open singles final and just kills him. I mean, Blake played maybe the best match I've ever seen him play in that final, that open singles final, beat him 3 straight games, just doing things from every rod, high speed, just brilliant stuff, and came back and beat him. So
let me speak to that.
Was that for Blake?
It was amazing. So we talk about these levels, right? We just spoke a second ago and a few minutes ago about the gap between a pro and a master executing. There are all these sub levels to that. There are all these layers to that, and one is getting past your nemesis. And make no mistake, Blake has had clear opportunities to beat Tony. According to their interview, he's had match balls, he's been ahead, and in 16 years he's never been able to beat Tony. Like the one guy, his nemesis.
Mm-hmm.
So they're playing, and Tony's playing around a little bit. But guess what? When it comes to the clutch, when it comes to the heat, Tony's shooting his main shot in the winners bracket final. And he's playing. He does not want to lose. Tony doesn't want to lose. It is an accomplishment. And I speak to it a lot. Tony plays to win. Yep. And so Blake getting past him. And then in the final, I watched it on, if you don't have your subscription InsideFoos.com, you're missing entertainment. You're missing competitive. You're missing competitive play. You're missing tips to get your game ahead. You're missing so much. Anyway, watch it on InsideFoos.com on the website. And Blake has a strategy. He's going to shoot his pull shot on Tony. He's going to play smart from his 2-bar. He's going to match him on the 5-bar, and he wipes the floor with Tony. Yeah, wipes the floor with him.
Wow. Yeah, he did. And we talked about it with Tommy. You've got to believe, right? You've got to believe that you can beat Tony. You've got to stare Tony across the table as an equal. And Blake has not always done that. He's gone into matches thinking, no, I can't beat Tony. Mm-hmm. That wasn't the case in Florida at the Beatdown, and I think moving forward, we're going to see an even more evolved Blake Robertson.
Yeah, well, he has confidence now. He knows he can beat him. He knows he can beat him. So it's not going to be Tony. Blake. This is what Blake said after the match was over. he was very, he had a moment of satisfaction and gratification that he had been waiting for 16 years.
Jeez.
And
that's something.
And he said that no one can ever say ever again that I never beat Tony.
Right.
And it was funny
right. because I've said it a few times.
Yeah, but you've said it. I've never heard him say that. So he's actually talking to himself. He's looking at me, but he's looking in a mirror and he's saying, "No one could ever tell you you never beat Tony ever again." That's a big leap. So let's watch out. Let's look out for Blake to throw his name in the hat.
Yeah.
And he's got to get past Tommy too. And you know what? It might have been easier for him to get past Tommy than Tony. So watch it be a 4 or 5 way fight. If Ryan comes to the Worlds,
Yeah, isn't it fun that we now have this stuff to talk about? We've spent the first 14 months of FoosTalk Live talking about whatever we could kind of dredge up, talking with the old timers who have been brilliant. Everybody from Mike Bowers to Steve Bindy to Bob Maloney, etc. But now we have stuff to really talk about. And as we watch this new era of foosball that has been birthed and is unfolding as we move forward, and we'll be at the Nationals next week, which I'm looking forward to. It's going to be a big turnout.
Yes.
A lot of the great players are going to be there. It's going to be a lot of fun to cover the national championships, and then the Bart O'Hearn celebration at the end of July, which we'll get to here in the next few weeks, which is going to be so very special. So
inside
a lot to look forward to.
InsideFoos.com.
Yeah.
That's it.
So you're both are going to be at in Denver. So what are your predictions? What do you want to lay down here as far as what do you think is going to happen?
Is Tommy going to that tournament? I didn't catch that.
I don't believe he is. I think he's going to school. I think he's in college right now. Yep. But certainly the turnout's going to be big. The quality of competition is going to be very big. Obviously Tony's going to be there.
Is Blake? Does anyone know if Blake's going to that tournament?
I believe Blake is. Yeah, I believe obviously Rob Maras and Tommy Adkisson and others will be there as well. And
Kevin Romero
will
be there.
Yeah, Kevin Romero, who has been super this year. This is a guy we have to talk about as a top 10 player.
Sure.
Entering this event. So the competition's going to be great. In every division. That's the thing. From beginner all the way up to open. National championships are on the line. I don't care if you win it a beginner, an amateur, a rookie, an expert, a pro, an open world, a national championship. It means something. You take that trophy home. You're a national champion. You get to go to the people at work and say, look at what I won. I'm a national champ, no matter what the division is. So the competition from bottom, so to speak, all the way to the top is going to be incredible in Denver next weekend. And we'll be there to cover it all at InsideFoos.com starting Friday, noon Mountain Time on Friday at InsideFoos.com.
And we'll be getting some reports to forward to you right here at FoosTalk Live as well. Looking forward to maybe some live reports. We'll see. But depends on your schedule, but we'll see what happens. But
we'll make it happen, Tom. Don't worry.
All right.
Make it happen.
Well, you
so
never
stay
know
tuned here at FoosTalk Live for sure.
When Mark shows up at a tournament, you just never know what's going to happen.
You never know what's going to happen, man. You don't. I'm telling you, it makes it really interesting for me, for sure, to work with Mark. I mean, Mark Torres loves to enjoy himself. We'll put it that way. But the man knows his foosball. He knows his foosball, and that's the bottom line. When you get down to it, when Mark speaks, you listen, and that includes me. I listen to everything he has to say because he has really interesting, unique, educated insights into the game. So,
thank you, Jim. I appreciate that.
Looking forward to it.
Yep. Thank you.
So before we go, because this is the Father's Day, special of FoosTalk Live, you guys are dads. So give me some, sentimentality or something. Mark, what's Father's Day mean to you?
Oh my gosh, man. I was the first big leap of maturity in my life was marrying my wife, right? Because I still remember being I got married, let me see, I got engaged, I got married when I was 38, right?
Ooh,
so
late.
Up to that point, I was a nightmare. Like I was a complete mess. I was doing so much random nonsense. I was just thinking about this today. When I was like 37, I was auditioning for cover bands that I never intended to join. I was so bored. I got on Craigslist and I auditioned for these for lead singer for cover bands. Yeah. And then I would just they'd ask me to come back and I wouldn't. Did you audition for
me? Was that you? Didn't you win the audition for Journey?
No. Hey, that's funny. Side note to that story before I get on to answering the question. Because the one time I had a really bad, horrible audition. I used to prepare a little bit. This time I didn't prepare at all. And then they told me they didn't want me to come back. And then they called me and said, you're not a good fit, but we actually need someone to sing for us to practice. We need someone to practice with. And I guess I was still in method acting the whole thing, because in my mind my ego was bruised because I didn't get the job. So I refused to come practice with them. And then I thought, when I hung up the phone, I'm like, what are you dumb? That would have been perfect. You could just go practice anyway. So getting married, but having kids was the next big evolution for me. Like, the thing that I didn't anticipate about having kids. When you have kids, it's actually evolution. You change, you genetically change. You become predisposed to caretaking and protecting something else. It's not just this emotional leap. It is an actual evolutionary change in your physiology. You are wired differently. And so I've embraced all that, and I'm nothing like the man I was before I had kids. I'm very different than the man I was before I had kids. So fatherhood to me is the most important thing I do. It's the most important thing I've ever done. And I'm good at very few things, right? Like singing, dancing, cooking, lovemaking, seduction. Yeah, I'm very good at very few things. But the thing I take the most pride in, take the most pride in is being a father. And that's my answer to that question. I love being a dad. It's the most important thing to me.
It is to me as well. And this is 10 years now. I'm coming up on 10 years of being a father. And absolutely it did. It's so less about you, right? I mean, obviously our egos, and Mark has a huge one. I have a fairly large one myself, but those get kicked to the side. They have to be, right? Because there are these two beings now, in my case and in Mark's as well. His came both at the same time, that are more important, that, you see things through a different lens now. You look at how I try to always look at things through my children's eyes. Anything I say to them, I want to say, how would I have seen that? Right. And for me, it has changed me. And Mark put it perfectly in terms of evolution. It really did. And there is nothing more important in my live than being a father. There isn't. Nothing else is even close. And every single day, this weekend I got a chance to spend, with my kids up, disconnected, off the grid, camping in a beautiful place, and looking at snakes, and looking at crawdads in the lake, and looking at butterflies, and hiking, and playing a little baseball, which my son loves. Cool. Thank God. And all of these things matter so much more than anything else ever has. And I think that's what this day is about. That's what Father's Day is about. And I know all of you out there listening who are fathers, I'm sure you completely get what Mark and I are saying about this. There isn't anything more important than that. And as much as we love foosball, as much as we love other things in life, nothing else could be more important than our kids.
Wow. So you'd probably like to get back to your families.
Yeah.
Well, that, okay.
I'm thinking they're asleep, but still, I'm going to go tuck them in as I always do.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, I love that. And I certainly am envious, to say the least, that you've had that experience. We don't have cats though, Tom, so we're a little envious of you as well. Yeah, my cats are not going to be much support during my retirement. So anyway, it's cool. Yeah. Anyway, no, it's great. I really enjoyed this. I think, Tom and Tommy were just fantastic as guests.
Man, they were good.
Yeah. Really a lot of fun, and looking forward to next weekend, man. This is great. We get to get more live reports from something that's happening at the moment. So that's what
we'll be at the Nationals. Yeah. Yep, we'll be at the National from Denver starting at noon Friday Mountain Time. So that's 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday. Inside Foos live from the Nationals. Looking forward to it.
Yep. And if you haven't got your InsideFoos.com subscription, what are you waiting for?
What are you, crazy?
Yeah. You get busy and get down with it, because there's a lot of coverage still to come. It's FoosTalk Live. Happy Father's Day. We'll be back again next week on FoosTalk Live.
FoosTalk Live is a product of Inside Foos. All rights reserved. Brought to you in part by InsideFoos.com, 518 Prince, Foosballers the Movie, Foosball Clubs USA, and the USTSO. Tune in again next week for another episode of FoosTalk Live.
In the meantime,
we'll see you foozin'.